And so now I'm recovering my left hand. And I know of a few other survivors who just switched to writing with their other hand, either because they were faced with paralysis, or they just couldn't make it work, or they just decided that was the best decision for them. And so I thought about it and I toyed with it a lot, but I'm proud of being a lefty. I feel like it's part of my identity. And I also realize that because, I have full use of my fingers, like it's just the very fine control. And I felt like if I make the conscious effort to start writing with my other hand, then I feel like that will become a learned non-use that will be hard to overcome.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamus, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Bill from recoveryafterstroke.com. This is episode 117, and my guest today is Gloria Morgan. Gloria experienced a rare Pons brainstem stroke caused by a blood clot that may have formed around the time of giving birth to her third child. Although she had some serious symptoms that were not usual stroke symptoms, it took doctors more than 2 weeks to make the diagnosis. Now, just before we get started, if you have ever wondered what else I can do to help you with your stroke recovery, you should know that I have set up a few recovery after stroke support packages where stroke survivors can come into a community while trying to get better on their own and get help from people who are already further along in the recovery timeline. I too am a 3-time stroke survivor and a brain surgery survivor, and I have built for you what I was missing when I was sent home from hospital in the hopes that you don't have to do stroke recovery as tough as I did. Support packages give you access to a variety of tools 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that you can also work on other areas of stroke recovery that you don't get the chance to at physical therapy or rehabilitation. With tailored support available for less than $8.50 per week, all Recovery After Stroke support packages bring stroke recovery to you in the comfort of your own home. To try out Recovery After Stroke support and see if it is right for you, you will get the first 7 days free, as well as a 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. As a bonus, you will also get 2 face-to-face Zoom support calls with myself to take your recovery to the next level. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com/support to sign up. It won't cost you anything for the first 7 days, and you'll get a full refund if you are not happy after 30 days. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And now it's on with the show. Gloria Morgan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I know it's late
I'm delighted.
where you live. Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
Well, I had an ischemic stroke, a left cerebellar stroke. So ischemic, obviously, I'm sure anyone who listens to this podcast is familiar. It's a blood clot rather than a hemorrhagic stroke, which is a rupture of a blood vessel. But my stroke was extra special in that the location is very unique. So it happened in a part of the brain called the Pons, P-O-N-S. I think it stands for something. I don't really know, but basically it's part of the cerebellum, which is part of the brainstem. So cerebellar strokes are, and I know you're in Australia, so I don't know if the statistic is the same worldwide, but I assume it would be similar. But in the US, the statistic is less than 2% of all strokes of any kind are cerebellar. And because the cerebellum deals with more delicate systems like vision, balance, swallowing, and things like that, being part of the brainstem, it doesn't present with the typical symptoms of stroke. So, the acronym FAST, face, arm, all that stuff, those are not the typical symptoms. So what I learned is that cerebellar strokes typically present with the 3 V's: violent headache, vomiting, and vertigo,
Right.
which I did have all of those three. But we didn't know, and those are not typical symptoms. And I'd never heard of the 3Vs, so we didn't know.
Yeah.
So what happened is I had a baby, and about a week after having the baby, I started getting headaches, and they were pretty bad, which was unusual because I don't usually get headaches. But I had just had a baby, which is a big experience, and all of a sudden you don't sleep at all. So I just didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, I need more rest, and I need to drink more water and eat more high protein foods. Now I'm feeding a baby, that really depletes your body a lot. So then after about a week after the headache started, I started, in addition to a really bad headache, like it was so bad it would wake me up at night. It wasn't a headache I could sleep through. After about a week of that off and on, I started getting some like I would have moments where it would look like the room was kind of like swimming around.
Wow.
And after about 4 days of that happening off and on, all of a sudden one day I got double vision, just like the room split in half and just started going like this. And that went on for like a minute, and then it went back to normal and just the headache. And at that point I was like, okay, that's not normal. I should call my doctor. But the symptoms had already been going on for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks at that point. And so I talked to my OBGYN. She referred me to my primary care doctor. My primary care doctor wanted to see me right away. And I'll just kind of push this all together because, of course, there's a lot more detail in there. But basically, I went to see my primary care doctor, and she wanted me to see an ENT, an otolaryngologist, ear, nose, throat guy, just basically to rule out vertigo. And she insisted on having me see that guy that day. And so I went straight from her office to his office. Like, she called him up. He was a friend. She called him up and had me go over there straight away. And this is the only part of the story that I feel like is important, because it's, I think for many of us, especially young stroke survivors, it's like those little things that we missed, that we regret, that now we feel like I need to tell people so that if this happens to them, like they won't skip over this and think it's nothing. They'll just go get the MRI, go get the test, go get the scan, just call the doctor, so that they'll find out, hopefully it's a false alarm. And if it's not a false alarm, they'll catch it in time. Mm-hmm. So we went to the ENT, and he, asked me about all my symptoms and did a few tests and stuff. And then he explained at the end of the appointment that probably I had benign positional vertigo, which is, very mild thing, like calcium crystals in the ear get displaced, and it can cause dizziness and even cause double vision. So I was like, okay, that's obviously what I have, because it wouldn't be anything more serious than that. And I've just had a baby, that'll really mess you up. Yep. And little did I know. And so he gave me something called the Epley maneuver. It's like a set of exercises you do where you like turn your head to different sides at different angles, which can apparently help roll the displaced calcium crystals in your ear and just reposition them so that it basically resolves the vertigo. Yeah. And he explained that I needed to do these exercises, at so many times per day. And if I didn't see the symptoms improve, then I should go to the ER, because that means it's not a physiological problem, it's a neurological problem. And he didn't say it with a lot of alarm because I guess he's a good doctor, but he did say it seriously. And so when he said, that means, if your symptoms don't improve, that means you should go to the ER right away, because that means it's not a physiological problem, it's a neurological problem. And so I said, you mean like a stroke? Like, just joking. And he looked at me and said, yes, not joking. I know, right?
Wow.
And so we went home, and by that time, my eyes were just like not really seeing clearly. And so I was having to walk. I remember I was having to like touch things to kind of like keep my balance. But I was like, I've got displaced crystals in my ear. I just need to rest and do these weird exercises. So I wake up the next morning, do the weird exercises, and which it should be noted, these exercises were literally laying on my back, turning my head in a series of directions, very specifically, which obviously I now realize I was basically moving blood clots around in my head is what happened. So within about 15 minutes of doing those maneuvers, I got up from doing the exercises, and then, I have a baby. I haven't really slept that much the night before. I need to eat something. So I scarf like a piece of toast and some water. And then like all of a sudden it just all comes up, all of it violently into the sink over and over and over again. And basically that was the rest of the day. That was it. Like all of a sudden I couldn't walk. I had to like shakily crawl back to my bed, and I couldn't see. I was seeing double. Like I just, like, everything was moving around, and there was two of everything, and I couldn't stop throwing up. And that's when we knew it was really bad, because I couldn't hold down water. Like, not even water. Like, it would just all come up violently over and over and over again until I was just dry heaving over the toilet.
Yeah.
Nothing would stay in my body. And, I had a 24-day-old baby who needs to eat like every 2 or 3 hours. I couldn't hold him. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see what I was doing. So my husband had to go out, like 2 hours later, he had to go out and go to the store and get baby formula. And our baby went from breastfed to formula fed, like literally overnight. Like, in one feeding, he went from breastfed to bottle fed, and that was it, because I couldn't feed him. And so we thought, I don't know what we thought at that point. It just, the word stroke never entered my mind. And I'll be honest, I don't actually remember making that joking comment to the ENT. I didn't remember that until months and months later. Like, when I was telling the story to someone, I was like, oh yeah, I actually joked with the guy. Like, he was trying to tell us, like, this could be a stroke. And I joked with him, like, you mean I might be having a stroke? And he was like, yeah. And I didn't even remember that.
Well, you're probably having a stroke, and that's maybe why you didn't remember it.
Possibly, yeah.
How long did it take? How long did it actually finally take for you to get diagnosed?
From the original, like the very first onset of symptoms, to actual, like, I'm in the hospital getting MRIs, it was about 2 weeks. But from the point of me calling a doctor to getting diagnosed was probably like 48 hours.
Yeah, well, even then. So it took you 2 weeks. You were dealing with this for 2 weeks. So just for people listening who might not know, the Pons, according to teachmeanatomy.info, is the largest part of the brainstem. It's located between the medulla, which is the bottom part of the brainstem that comes up from the spine, just before it gets to the actual brain, and then there's the pons. It's quite a large area of the brainstem. It's the last part of the brainstem, and then it attaches to the middle brain, the part that actually is nearest to the cerebellum. I had my bleed near the cerebellum, and the second time it bled, and the bleed was really large. I had vertigo, I had throwing up, and I had all those symptoms. Except for the headache, I didn't have the headache that you described. I had those other things, and I didn't have those at the beginning. And the symptoms that you described, uh, less than 20% of people who experience a stroke have the standard fast symptoms of stroke. So the other people, the 20% that don't fit that category, have all these different versions of
Hmm.
potential neurological um, issues showing up
Right.
that you ignore. Like you, it took me a week before
Yeah.
I went to the hospital to tell them that I couldn't feel my left side. It took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that the changes in my body were potentially something serious. And
Yeah.
I was 37, like as if I was having a stroke. How old were you?
I was 35. So this was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
almost 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing, not physically or emotionally for you at that time? What was the hardest thing that, looking back now, you had to deal with?
Emotionally,
Yeah.
um, really, it was the fact that I had just had a baby. Like I had a 24-day-old baby who just all of a sudden didn't have a mom. And um, we have 3 kids, and the oldest is 6 just now. So when the stroke happened, he was not even 4.5. And then we had a 2-year-old who, I mean, he was still having a bottle with me every morning. So he would get up, have his bottle of milk in my lap in the rocking chair, and then he would go play, and I would feed the new baby. And then, you know, all of that. Like they didn't understand. So the hardest part emotionally was um, basically feeling like my kids were being ripped away from me. And then also being separated from my husband for 6 weeks because we're very close. And but yeah, the hardest part for me was emotionally was definitely feeling like I was losing my kids and like knowing that my kids were missing their mom. Like I will never forget. My husband's a tech guy, so he had everything set up, like connected to our phones. And so even in the hospital from my phone, I could click into the monitor in our son's room and look. And so I made the mistake.
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
The second night I was in the hospital, I was in the ICU at this point. I clicked into the monitor in our kids' room, and at like 8 o'clock at night, around bedtime, basically. And there was my husband on the floor holding my 4-year-old who was screaming with his entire being, I want mama! Like just as loud as he could scream, like his whole body was just shaking, and he was just like screaming and thrashing, I want mama! I want mama! And I mean, I just, in that moment, I physically felt like my heart is going to just rip in half and die. Like I'm going to die. This hurts so bad.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest thing emotionally.
Yeah, I'm sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to
Yes.
give people an understanding that when people have a stroke, it, everything stops automatically, and it doesn't matter what you're in the middle of, nothing continues. And I know that's the same for anyone else who has any other type of um, health challenge. I get it. I get that too, right? But
Yeah.
that you have to go from being a mum of three kids to a stroke survivor, and happens so quickly, and leave a 24-day
Yeah.
old baby at home with your husband,
Yeah.
and then somehow you have to navigate all these things just all at the same time, and you don't have any
Yeah.
of the skills, you don't have any of the support, any of no idea, and all of a sudden,
No.
um,
It's just thrust on you.
yeah, and it's emotionally really challenging. I didn't have that kind of separation anxiety from my kids. They were a bit older, and we were able to see them, and there was none of that stuff going on. But I can't imagine what it would have been like to be such a young mum. And there is a theme in some of my podcasts. There's a few ladies who have had a stroke near or around childbirth. Is there some kind of an underlying reason that may have caused that to happen then for you?
Um, I've never actually talked about this before, but this is the terrifying and sad truth. I probably did this to myself.
Ooh.
So, what happened is, I like to be healthy, and, I'm young, and I like to consider myself an attractive person. So, I want to take care of my body. And we always talked about having three kids. So this was the third kid. And I was like, after this, we're going to be done. And now I'm going to focus on me and taking care of my body and getting myself back to where I want to be, where I feel good in my own skin. Any mom listening to this is going to relate. So the third time was, for whatever reason, it was the easiest delivery, super fast. I felt great, almost zero pain, like just barely any discomfort, like nothing. So I was feeling really good, really fast. And within a week, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm not going to go run a marathon. I'm not going to get on the treadmill. I'll just do some yoga. I'll just do a little bit of yoga, something very gentle. And what I realized later is that, after childbirth, you have an open wound in your uterus that is bleeding. And a major problem, the opposite problem, is when women bleed out after birth. So that's why most women, immediately after delivering a baby, they'll get a vitamin K shot, because vitamin K helps your blood clot. And what you want is for your blood to clot so that the wound in the uterus seals up and you don't hemorrhage and bleed out, because that's a very serious life-threatening problem for women who've had a baby. But the thing is, you have an open wound healing up in your body. And what I did, because in yoga, the downward dog position, you've got your hips up above your head. And so basically, I was pointing an open clotting wound at my head. And so I mean, this is my theory, and I talked about it with my OBGYN, and she concurred that that was a very likely cause, that it was the yoga of all things. I'm not saying yoga is bad, but for women who have just had a baby,
There's no need to do that.
don't do headstands. Like, it's okay to do some stretching if you feel up for that, but you should never put your hips above the level of your head when your uterus is bleeding, because those blood clots, those teeny tiny microscopic blood clots, I mean, gravity is going to do its thing. Yeah. It's going to pull them down. And if your head is down there, it's going to go into your head. That's why women who just had a baby are also very closely monitored for something called DVT, deep vein thrombosis, which is basically the same thing. It's just the clots going into your legs rather than your head. So yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe if I hadn't been doing yoga, maybe I would have had DVT instead. I don't know. We don't know.
It's a hypothesis worth thinking about, but the fact that there's no underlying cause is a good thing, in that now you know that it's not something else going wrong that's causing these things to occur, and that's a
Yeah.
good thing. How how long were you in hospital, and what deficits did you have when you came out of hospital?
So I was in the ICU for a week, and then I was in a rehab hospital for 5 weeks, so a total of 6 weeks. And when I was discharged home, I was not able to walk. I was barely able to stand on my own. Excuse me. So part of the cerebellum, as you must know, is that it affects your balance. And um, my major deficit is I lost fine motor control on my left side. So I could still move all of my limbs, thankfully, but the muscle pairs basically in the whole left side of my body didn't work together. So, like, if any stroke survivor, you probably had to do this test where you do this thing and then you do this thing. And so, like, I can move all the fingers in my hand, but like, if I try to hold a pen, say, like, I can't.
Yep.
But it was a lot worse when I was in the hospital. Like, I would I would hold up my two arms and my left arm would just float away on its own. I couldn't do anything about it. I would have to wait for it to stop floating and then like consciously pull it back.
So
So
when you went home, you also weren't able to fully be involved in your motherly duties, your responsibility, your baby again. You still had
yeah.
to sit on the sideline.
Yeah. Basically I would just move between the bed and the chair. So that I would get put in a chair, and anytime the baby needed to feed, they would hand me the baby, and that would just like subtract one of the kids to be taken care of. And so every time he needed to be fed, I would feed him, like I would hold him and give him the bottle, which I really appreciated. But that was about all I could do until I was able to start walking again, which actually happened pretty soon. It came together pretty soon after I was discharged from the hospital. I was almost kind of there, which is why I think they were like, okay, get her out. She's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest physical deficit. But I really, the biggest deficit overall was my eyes. So basically, when we went to the hospital, I was seeing crazy double and everything was just like shaking around. And it just stayed like that. And it slowly improved to where I don't see double all the time. And the movement is less. But that is the greatest misery of every waking moment of my life now. So,
The slight vibration of the eye. What's it called? I know it's not uncommon.
nystagmus.
Say it again.
Nystagmus, NYSTA, and then Agmus.
Yeah.
So it's not very obvious here. But if you can see, like you'll see my eye just kind of ticking
Yes. Yes. It's moving kind
just
of
a little bit.
slightly left and right all the time.
Right. And if I look up, then it goes up and down.
Uh-huh.
And if I look straight, like if I look directly at the camera, it looks like I'm just kind of looking around, but that's because I can't directly focus my eyes.
Right.
So what you see is my eyes just kind of looking around, like I just don't want to look you in the eye. But what I see right now, looking at the camera, is I see two edges of the laptop and four little dots kind of jumping around. And so my eyes are like constantly trying to pull things together and like make things stand still. And that's every waking moment, and it's maddening. So that's the worst thing.
Is there
And
anything that can be done about that? Does it resolve? Does it get better?
no, um, no. So there's no treatment. The only treatment I've been offered by traditional medicine is opioids. And all that does is basically just, it's not a treatment, it's symptom management. So it's supposed to basically just sedate the brain so that hopefully the eyes would move less. And I mean, we were desperate, so we tried one that my neuro-ophthalmologist recommended, and it did nothing. It changed absolutely nothing in my eyes, but it made me so like kind of woozy that I would fall over from a sitting position.
Wow.
Just like sitting Indian style, or what do you call it? Just on the floor. And I would, cross legs. I would just fall right over. I fell over on my baby and hurt him. So we were just like, nope, can't do that.
Wow. Yeah,
so,
that's tough. So you've been going through it now for around 2 years. Your husband stepped up and did all the things he had to do. Have you had a chance to speak to him about what he went through and what it was like for him to suddenly not know what's happening to you, and what might that mean for his children and him?
I've gotten sort of a picture based on things he says, but he's the kind of guy who's like, just do what you got to do. Like, I mean, he will push through everything, whether it's like his wife having a stroke, or like just doing the dishes, or putting the kids to bed, or if it needs to be done. He's a German engineer. If it needs to be done, he'll just do it.
Yeah.
But I did, just like from his comments here and there, or to other people, or things like his mom told me a lot of things, because when I was in the ER and like unconscious, his parents and his brother came up. So we were in Northern California, they're in Southern California. It's about a 6-hour drive. And so we went to the ER Friday afternoon. I don't want to freak anybody out, but it was July 13th. So it was Friday the 13th. I'm not superstitious, but I do like to point that out to people, because, I mean,
it's fun. It's quirky.
It is. I like that. It's fun. It's quirky. That's what I'm going to say about it next time. But yeah, so we went to the ER at 4:00 on a Friday afternoon, and probably within 2 hours, we knew that it was serious. And I think they diagnosed it like within 3 hours or less. It took several scans because, FYI, a cerebellar stroke will not show up on a CAT scan. It might look like a tumor, but it will not present on a CAT scan. You have to have an MRI.
Right.
So it's just good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
so then, are you driving now? Are you back at being physically active like that?
No, I'm able to walk, but I have to fight for my balance with every single step. So I'm not yet able to balance on either leg, actually, which means that walking is very much a challenge. So that's my physical recovery goal for the next year of my recovery, is I want to be able to balance on one leg, because having that balance will mean that I have a better command of my body in order to control motion, like jogging. Like ultimately, I want to be able to go back to jogging. I wasn't a big jogger before the stroke, but that's mainly because I had small kids. So I was actually starting to ramp up and invest in good workout gear and like training abs, and like I was starting to get into it, and then I had a stroke. Well, then I had a baby, and then I had a stroke. And so everything, just like you said, it just stops without warning, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Your recent posts on Instagram, you show photos of your face before and after, and how it's improving. Was one side drooped for quite a while, and was the eye affected for quite a while?
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, it was the whole left side of my face was basically immobile, probably for at least the first 2 months, or no, I should say at least the first month. And then by the end of my time in rehab, I was starting to see a little bit of improvement. They had exercises taped up in my room that I was supposed to do where you like, open your mouth and stretch your lips and use your tongue and all that kind of stuff. Make a fish face and make a big O and all those kinds of things. And because I didn't know what else to do, and there was very little else I could do on my own, I would just do that over and over again. So I was starting to see a little bit of improvement by the time I was discharged, and then I haven't been like consistent with exercises specifically for my face most of the time, but recently I've been trying to be more consistent with it because, to be honest, when the pandemic started and everything shut down, I basically lost the ability to do any kind of meaningful recovery therapy of any kind.
Yeah.
And doing face exercises are something for which you don't need equipment, you don't need a therapist. You can just, oh, I'm sitting here while my kid plays with his toy in my lap and he doesn't want me to get up, so I'm just going to sit here and
Pull funny
I'm just going
faces
to
for the
I'm
kids.
just going to sit here and pull funny faces. And
Yeah, I've also seen a post there with regards to your writing. So were you right-handed and now you can't write with your right hand? What happened with the right hand?
So it was the left sided, and I was left-handed before.
Ah,
And so now I'm recovering my left hand. And I know of a few other survivors who just switched to writing with their other hand, either because they were faced with paralysis, or they just couldn't make it work, or they just decided that was the best decision for them. And so I thought about it and I toyed with it a lot. But honestly, I'm proud of being a lefty.
yeah.
I feel like it's part of my identity.
Yep.
And I also realize that because, I have full use of my fingers, like it's just the very fine control. And I felt like if I make the conscious effort to start writing with my other hand, then I feel like that will become a learned non-use that will be hard to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I decided, basically my motto with stroke recovery in general is do the hard thing. And so even in the rehab hospital, if my therapist, like at the end of a session, they would say, oh, we have time for one more exercise. Do you want to do this or do you want to do that? I would always ask, which one's harder? Okay, let's do that one. Like whatever's harder, do that.
Yeah. That's not a bad approach. I know that some people avoid doing something hard, that's painful, that's difficult, because they're going through a lot of other things, right? And doing another thing hard and difficult might be, not on the to-do list. Just let it go, push it aside, find the easy solution. Sometimes that's a really good approach too, because if that makes you feel better that you found an easy solution and a quick solution, that's a positive thing as well. But I'm like you, I tend to take the stairs instead of the elevator or the escalator. And I won't do it if I'm extremely tired, but I will do it when I'm feeling good about it, because I can walk, and most people wouldn't notice that I've had a stroke, and they wouldn't notice that my left side struggles a little bit, especially going upstairs. If I'm tired, I might clip the bottom of one of the steps, and it might cause me to
Mm-hmm.
trip or lose my balance. But if I'm feeling well, I'll make sure that I take the escalators, because I don't want to get to that point where I'm avoiding doing something that is really important, like walking upstairs, because we have stairs at home. And I just want to make sure that I practice that, and it's such an easy way to practice
Yeah.
without putting in too much effort.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. We just moved into a house that has stairs,
yeah,
and we thankfully we didn't, when we were looking for a house, we didn't put any limits. We assumed it would have stairs, and we both, the day we got the keys to the house, I went up the stairs and came down again, and of course I had to hold the handrail and be careful, but um by the end of the day I'd got up and down the stairs probably, I don't know, half a dozen times, or maybe more, maybe 10 times or a dozen times. And I had to, concentrate and be careful each time, but I wasn't winded. I didn't feel exhausted or fatigued, or, all I had to do was just be careful, and I couldn't carry things. And so my husband and I were both like, oh, the stairs are no problem.
yeah, that's
And yeah, even just today, we were like, well, I'm so glad the stairs aren't a problem. And he's, you asked earlier what his feeling, like what his reaction was, and I don't think I quite answered it, but basically he was just like, oh, you can do it, you can do it. But then whenever it's like, oh, I can handle stairs and it's fine, he was like, oh, and you just see the relief. Like, he wasn't willing to show that he was worried, but then the relief comes out like, these are no problem. You're just like running up and down the stairs, no problem.
yeah.
So
He's trying to protect you from showing concern or worry, but then when something amazing happens, he's unable to
yeah,
withhold
yeah,
showing
there's a
his
little crack like,
excitement.
oh, I really was worried.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. That's a man thing, and that's probably a German man thing more than it is a Australian man thing. But yeah, it's definitely a man thing. Um,
Thank you for translating.
yeah. um, with regards to the children, now, how have they been getting their mum back? Have they kind of transitioned back to quote unquote what was normal beforehand now with a new sibling and all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know how adaptable kids are, especially young kids. So they've adapted to the changes. But on the other hand, they're just kids. So, like, they understand that mama has a brain owie.
Mhm.
That's how he explained, because, our kids are so young. Our oldest was 4.5 when it happened, so he understands owies. And so I explained it like, well, I had an owie in my brain that made me forget how to walk, and I can't drive anymore. And so he understood that. So that's what my kids understand. I have a brain owie, and now our oldest son understands that brain owies are called strokes.
Yeah.
Doctors call a brain owie a stroke. And strokes are very serious, and we try not to get too serious with them, but like, on the one hand, they'll ask me to come play with them, and they'll like run up to me and like just like run into me, barrel into me and like grab me around the legs. um and I'll have to scream, don't hit mama can fall down, like,
That can bring you unstuck.
yeah. So they'll like play with me like they've forgotten that I could fall over and get hurt.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, our oldest is like, sometimes he'll show extraordinary concern, like unusual concern, like, mama, I want to protect you so you don't get hurt. Like, he's conscious that something happened to me that was serious, and he worries. And like, our 4-year-old, who was only 2 when it happened, he it's hard to tell with him because he's still so young, but he hates being alone. So if he can't find mama or dada, he'll get really upset.
Right.
And now that we're in, like, we used to be in an apartment, now we're in a bigger house. So even if I'm just downstairs, he'll just want to come and, like, even if he's just, watching something on his tablet, he has to be where he can see us. And he still wakes up in the middle of the night and comes into our room and wants to sleep next to me or on me, or like just be closer all the time. And all of our kids are like that. They constantly want to be close to each other or to us. And so, I
They
mean,
just
it's
made
sweet.
sensitive kids. That's all. That's all.
Yeah. So yeah, on the one hand, they've adapted to what my limitations are, and they tend to forget sometimes that they need to be a little extra careful because they're just kids. They just play, which is great. But on the other hand, they do have this like kind of awareness in the background that something happened to mama, and so they're extra sensitive about like being careful sometimes and wanting to. They're just very affectionate, which I think is wonderful.
It's beautiful. It's awesome. Tell me about the noise that they make. So being young and being kids, they're going to be very loud and boisterous and fully energetic. Does the noise and the energy that they have sometimes tire you out and take you kind of to that place of fatigue? Does that?
Every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. So one of my other deficits, I don't talk about this as much on my Instagram or in person because I honestly just don't have time to think about it. But I also lost all the hearing in my left ear, and I have really bad tinnitus. So right now, for example, I'm really only hearing you in my right ear. And in my left ear, I hear like a really high-pitched electronic buzzing, almost like a sound machine or like an old CRT TV, like that high-pitched electronic line. And it's really, really loud. Like I can hear it over the noise of a vacuum cleaner or a blender. It's really loud.
Right.
So any background noise at all, just like air conditioning or a fan or like the dishwasher or just like while I'm washing my hands, any background noise at all. And I won't be able to understand someone talking to me, even if they're standing right next to me. So any noise that kids make, let's just say I'm really glad we have a big backyard now.
Yeah, you can send them out when you need to.
Yeah, and so after a while, I just decided like this needs to be a rule. Now we have a house, we have a backyard, and so I just tell my kids loud noises are for outside. If you're going to make loud noises, you can go outside. So when they start yelling in the house, I'll give them warning counts like that's 1. Loud noises are for outside. And if I get to 3, I just tell them like it's not really a punishment per se. It's like, okay, that's 3. You need to go outside. Like go outside. That's where you make loud noises.
Yeah.
Or if they want to like sing or if they're just playing a loud game, I tell them like your noises are just for you. You can go do that in your room. You know, if you're playing that game or you want to sing that song or whatever, like you can do that in your room. But if you're going to be in the living room, this is a space for everyone. We have to share, and your noises are just for you. So I'm trying to use it as a way to teach them basically respect and consideration for others. So I try not to make it too much about me and the fact that I'm deaf. Or partially deaf. I'm trying to make it more about just educating them to be sensitive to the existence and comfort of others.
I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like it because it's a really unique approach, and a lot of mums and dads will be listening, wondering how to navigate this. And I stuffed it up because I would just lose my marbles and yell and scream and be really insensitive to them and really treat them unfairly, but not because I was trying to be nasty or aggressive. It's just because I was at my wit's end and I didn't know how else to do it, and they copped it. And then I would spend a lot of time apologizing and trying to make up for all the mistakes that I made, but I didn't understand. And perhaps they were a bit older, they were teenagers, so we didn't have those rules previously. So trying to create new rules around something like this was almost impossible anyway. But
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my kids are really young, so they're learning the world for the first time anyway. So I in that sense, I'm glad that this happened earlier on, so we could just kind of like all learn and grow and adapt. So I'm just teaching them, like they're learning everything for the first time as it is. So this is just kind of part of that.
Yeah.
And I also realized that, you know, everyone's deficits are different. Like the tinnitus is horrible and terrible and unbearable and all the negative things, but there are some people who deal with like, noise sensitivity or photosensitivity or other things that where the reaction to noise or light or things like that is extreme. And, so everyone's deficits and struggles are different. And,
Yeah, that's why I asked. Now, I know I'm aware of the time because I know it's after midnight already where you are. So,
oh, no worries.
as we come to wrap up, I just wanted to ask you about what some of the biggest lessons have been. Like, is there something that has stood out that you've kind of gone, oh, okay? And I know it happened for me. There was a lot of them, and I know a lot of stroke survivors talk about getting something good out of this thing. Like, what has there been something like that for you?
Definitely. Number one lesson, and this is just a phrase that I made up for myself: everyone's pain is their own, which basically to me means don't compare suffering. And I see those two things as basically a gateway to empathy. Like that should bring you to empathy. So that was the big aha moment for me, was like, um, in order to really empathize with people, or really in order, someone has gone through something hard, so that when you are going through something hard, um, they get it. So I realized early on, if I started talking about what I was going through, people would say, oh, I totally know what you mean, I get headaches too. Or sometimes my eyes bother me too. Or, oh, sometimes I get tinnitus too. Or, oh, I know what you mean, like some days I just am so tired.
Yeah,
Just like, this is not the same thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah, people
I
struggle
try.
to relate. So they try and have a conversation with you by bringing themselves to a place
Yeah,
where they can relate and then continue the conversation in a cordial way. But they don't know how to relate, and they use
yeah.
the best skills available to relate, and they fail dismally. But then it's also important for us to allow them to fail dismally and to just not make it
Not
about,
make it a big deal. Yeah,
yeah, and trying to teach them a lesson all the time.
yeah. But as a survivor, I mean, I'm sure it's hurtful to just be like, oh yeah,
To
all
minimize
the
my
while,
suffering
and yeah, to
sometimes.
minimize your own suffering. And after doing that many, many times, and I'm sure I'll probably continue to have to do that
Yeah,
permanently now.
yeah,
Um, it just helped me realize, like, you know, I probably do that to other people. And just because I'm going through something harder than them, or that I feel is harder than what they're going through, that doesn't mean their suffering is any less of a struggle. It doesn't, like, my suffering doesn't invalidate yours. And so I remember talking to a friend one day, and she's just, your typical stay at home mom. And she was having a hard time. And we were talking, and she was like, oh, but I know it's nothing compared to what you're going through. And that was the little moment where it clicked. I was like, you know what? She hasn't had a stroke, but that does not mean her day is not frustrating, or that she shouldn't feel frustrated and like vent a little bit.
yeah,
And so I told her, just because your biggest struggle this week was that your toddler mashed her banana into the carpet again, like, if that's the biggest thing you struggled with this week, if that's your most frustrating problem this week, the fact that you didn't have a stroke doesn't make the mashed banana in the carpet any less frustrating.
yeah,
So that, to me, it just became this mantra to me: everyone's pain is their own. Like, it still hurts to them, it's still a struggle to them. Like, don't invalidate what other people are going through
yeah.
just because it's not the same.
We can win the "I struggle more than you" battle every time. I mean,
Pretty
it's
much.
if we wanted to. Apparently, like you said, it's worse for us than it is for them. But when the banana gets mashed into the carpet, it's not the banana in the carpet that's the issue. It's all those little things that have led up
Yeah.
to the banana in the carpet being the issue that we cop and cop and cop and cop and cop, and then one day a banana in the carpet just drives you bonkers.
Yeah, exactly. See, now I can tell you're a parent. You get it.
Yeah,
It's not about the banana in the carpet, it's all the other little things. And so I just realized whether it's a mom at home with her kids getting frustrated over, the mess at home and just never having enough me time or whatever, or it's, I've had friends who lost loved ones suddenly and tragically in ways that were just devastating. And, there are like, I don't know what it's like to have, I just told a friend this the other day, like, I would never compare the tension headaches I get with my eye problems to a migraine because I have never had a migraine. So, she gets migraines all the time, which is terrible. And I know how much, how painful and what a struggle it is for her. So, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, that's nothing compared to what I go through. Like,
yeah.
I've never had a migraine in my life. Yes, I had a stroke, but I've never had a migraine. So, like, why make her feel like what she's going through isn't worthy of, like, yeah, it's like there's no reason to invalidate it. Her suffering is still valid.
Yeah. Gloria, thank you so much. I really appreciate you reaching out and being on the podcast. I realize that it's
Yeah.
12:30 a.m. where you are right now. So I
You're very kind to keep the time. I wasn't paying attention and I didn't notice.
I know
I've had
that
a great time.
if I was a stroke survivor, I probably wouldn't get on somebody's podcast at 12:30 a.m. because I don't do well if I haven't slept enough. So I really just appreciate you being on here. I appreciate your sharing on Instagram. It made me curious about getting to meet you and understanding a little bit about what you do and how you're going about your recovery. I think it does help for me to see what you're going
Yes.
through and the sharing that you're doing. And I think a lot of other stroke survivors respond in the same way. So well done. Keep doing what you're doing. And
Thank you.
I hope everything goes well from here on.
If
And
you don't mind, could I just mention one thing for anyone interested in checking out my story on Instagram? I do want to caveat that, like, I do like sharing progress and recovery and hope, but a lot of what I share on Instagram is related to grief and the struggle, just because I find that, for me at least, I just really believe that sharing the grieving process is very healthy and productive. But I also don't want to alarm or depress anyone. I'm not there constantly like grieving over my life. Just sometimes whenever those really hard moments happen, that's what I share. So I do tend to share a lot of that stuff just because when I first came on Instagram looking for other young stroke survivors, I mostly saw people who were like, we're stroke warriors, we can do this. And I didn't see a lot of people who were expressing what I was feeling.
yeah.
So I just started saying, like, guys, this really sucks and I hate it.
And that's so fair because it does suck and it is shit. And I go through this a lot. And I don't, I didn't get that from your page. I didn't get that you just talk about the negative, the grief, and all that kind of stuff. I got that it's an inspiring thing, and your stories are true and they're real.
Oh, good.
And for me, I do post about things like the screws in my head hurt, and why do they hurt,
Oh
and
my gosh.
and you put that out there and people respond and they go, yeah, the screws in my head hurt as well, and then it's because of the barometric pressure. And oh my god, like, it's scientific. Wow, like, there's a whole different kind of level of learning
Oh
and
my god.
understanding, you know
Wow. Yeah.
so thanks for saying that, but I didn't get that from your Instagram. For people who want to follow you, I'll have a link to your Instagram there,
Oh,
and
cool.
they can reach out and have a look for themselves, the kind of stuff. Your photos are pretty cool. There's little baby photos there. There's food photos. There's handwriting photos. Uh, there's lots of stuff. There's even a book that is about the foods that you should eat to help with health,
Yeah.
well-being, and it's next to a cake.
Yes. Hashtag doing it wrong.
I love it. Thank you, Gloria, so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for listening to this episode of the Recovery After Stroke podcast. If you like this episode or any other episode, please hit the like button if you're watching on social media. Give us a thumbs up if you are watching on YouTube. And give the Recovery After Stroke podcast a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. Doing that will make the podcast more visible to other stroke survivors that are doing it tough right now, and it could help them feel inspired and feel better about the road ahead. Thanks for tuning in.
Discover how to heal your brain after stroke. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com. Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamus. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.